So welcome guys to this little lecture I will be giving here on the Primera Jornada Online de Ingeniería Industrial. I'm very happy that Jefferson is doing this type of events, online events for students and almost finished grad students, and I don't know, maybe there's even some working people right here. So first things first, let me show you what we are going to cover right now. Essentially, it's the index here, and I'm going to give you a brief introduction on who am I, what I have been doing, what I'm doing right now, and my future plans. Then I'm going to explain you a little bit on chemical engineering, the difference between the engineer, the chemist, and I think the most important part right here is what are the areas that you can take as an engineer, all the different sectors and so on, and the type of positions that you can take on such sectors right now. Okay. For instance, the entry level works, the mid levels, senior level, manager level, and so on. Eventually, we go to a overall outlook on Mexico, Brazil, Latin America, and what can we do as Mexicans and Brazilians in order to be working worldwide? What can we do? This is right now a global war. You already know that you can be working everywhere. You can take students, can go for exchange programs, different masters all way long. Okay. Then we go to this section right here, which is the recommendations on what I think are the skills that you need to improve or get, and what knowledge you need, some education if you're a student right now or if you're in a master level, and eventually if you're already working, what I think you should be improving right now. Eventually we give a course conclusion. Now personal, my name is Emmanuel Ortega. I'm currently 29 years old. I'm from Monterrey, Mexico. It's northeast from Mexico. It's about 2 hours with the car into the Texas border. I study at Tec de Monterrey, which is one of the top universities. You can also find it at ITESM, which is the official name. It's Instituto Tecnológico de Estudios Superiores de Monterrey. It's very focused on engineering and manufacturing, which is what I wanted, so it's very good fit. I'm pretty sure that in Brazil you have also top universities and you can compare them. And well, I earned my bachelor degree on chemical engineering. That's what I wanted to study. I was good in math, I was good in chemistry, so I said, well, what's the nearest thing? I could be a chemist or an engineer. I'm pretty sure that in Brazil and in Mexico is almost the same, that most people prefer engineering over actual science. And I choose my chemical engineering degree, which was awesome because in Tec de Monterrey we have this minor in industrial engineering, which is very important for manufacturing, which we have a lot in Mexico. And I graduated on 2012, which is about 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. So let me tell you what I have done right now. I remember when I was a student, I went as exchange student in Germany 2011 to 2012. I got this, the first semester was studying. This was a scholarship from the German government for us Mexicans. I met some Brazilians. There were also some Argentinians, Colombian guys, and people from Chile. Now, I was there first studying, then the second semester was the interesting part, which was the internship I was doing, was about process control and mostly process design with Aspen Plus, which is designing all the process, temperature, pressures, equipment design, and so on. So it was awesome. It was about taking in naphtha and then getting the isopentane and cyclopentane products into a very unique mix that our client from Turkey wanted. So it was awesome because I got to play plenty of the basic engineering. So of course, it's 6 months. I was not able to finish the total design, but at least some basis on the basic engineering was done. Now I also worked in Accra Polyester, which is a company here in Monterrey. They, as the name implies, we work with polyester. So we have the first part, which is the polymer production, which is polyester production. And then the part where I was present was the process part in which we converted the plastic or the polyester little chips into a yarn. A yarn is nothing more than the threads that eventually go and make the straps. Also, I was in the part of the textile for cars, and I think the most proud part is that we did the yarn that goes in the safety belts in cars. So it was a very good experience. I really loved it, and well, I definitely recommend you, if you like process engineering, you should be aiming to get a process engineering job, something similar. For instance, I really wanted to go into a polymer industry, so this is a very good opportunity. I was there about 1.5 years until I finished up. So right now it's a little bit more technical on what I did. Was textile yarn, spinning, winding, texturing, and also the industrial part, which is the belt part, was also spin draw winding, which is very similar process. You just melt the plastic, then it goes like a plenty of threads, and you start drawing and winding, and then you get these little, let's say, packets of yarns. Now, what I do essentially right now, I'm dedicated almost full time to online tutoring via 2 sites right now, check.com. I also got some partners in India. We do online, mostly chemistry. And I also have online courses which are mostly dedicated to chemical engineering. You can check out here my website if you want to. I have plenty of courses right now, and I also have some Aspen software courses which are much more technical on how to design a plant. Now, what I want to do is eventually I want to go and do my master's degree in any science engineering field, maybe UK or maybe in Europe. So yeah, eventually when I finish that, I want to continue with my online tutoring courses. I really love this area of education, especially because it's online. I can provide lots of courses to the world and not only stay local. The problem with many people ask me why I don't go to a university and give some lectures is because those will stay only local, whereas online goes through all the world, even countries I didn't even know that I will be teaching. For instance, Indonesia, Malaysia, Arabia, Egypt, those countries I will never think that were going to see my videos online in my YouTube channel or my courses online, my website, and they do. So it's really like, wow, I'm helping people I don't even know where they are. So that's awesome for me. So now let's continue with the chemical engineering part. I'm pretty sure, like as an industrial engineer, you can work as well in chemical industry, mechanical industry, electrical, automation, and so on. So I'm going to give you what I actually know, which is chemical engineering. And many people ask me what's a chemical engineer and what's the difference between a chemist and so on. So I typically say chemical engineers are the main job of a chemical engineer is to transform raw materials from useless or not that useful materials. They use science or manufacturing, reactors, blah, 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 into transforming it into a very useful material. For instance, rubbers, tires, building blocks, I don't know, whatever you can imagine, these polymers, maybe even glass. I'm going to show you later the specific areas and sectors, but whatever you can touch is most likely made of a chemical that was provided by a chemical industry. Now, we work on both materials and energy. We also have the energy sector. You know that petroleum eventually converts to gasoline and it's burned to produce some energy. The same is true for hydroelectric industry, geothermal, and so on. Now, it's very important that most of the science that we study is not actually chemistry. We do study chemistry, but we study much more physical properties of substances. We study much more the engineering, how to improve all the, let's say, the unit operations, a heat exchanger, how to improve the heat exchange, how to improve the distillation, separation, the purities of petroleum, and so on. For instance, I don't know, like in the example of my previous experience, the idea was to improve the tensile properties, improve the durability, the color, and the extrusion to decrease the energy of the units and so on. So that's what a chemical engineer does mostly manufacturing processes, chemical processes, and so on. And I'm very happy to show you guys that actually, as any engineering field, it's very diverse. So you can have plenty of opportunities. There are plenty of areas, and as society continues to grow, engineering fields continue to grow and appear in new areas. For instance, I wanted to show you what's the difference between a chemical engineer and a chemist. So I love these little examples that I tell the people. So, for example, one chemist will be wearing lab coat, whereas an engineer will be having this helmet because he's working with steel and he can hit his body, his head, and so on. I also talk about glassware versus steel. In the lab, you have all these little like ceramics, you have glass, they can be broken very easily because they are so precise and so on. And in engineering, we have more like rudimentary material, steel, that they can take up a lot of stress, temperature, and so on. I also say, where do you want to work? In a lab or in a plant, chemical plant? So that's the main difference between engineers and scientists or chemists, that the chemist goes to the lab and the engineer goes to the plant. Then we have also the typical example that I tell the students is chemists work with micrograms, grams, and we engineers work with kilos, tons, and so on. So that's the main, like the easiest way to separate the engineer from the chemist. Now, the most important part I wanted to show you right here is where are the areas or sectors that chemical engineers, and of course, plenty of other engineering fields can work in. For instance, electricity is required in any, let's say, factory or so on. So you can add that as well. Industrial engineering is required for anything that requires manufacturing or procedures. So you can be working on this as well. Now I have this part right here. Essentially, what everything thinks we do in chemical engineering is chemicals and products derived from chemicals. But actually, we have much more broader area. For instance, we got water industry. We must make pure, take out toxins, precipitate the materials, and so on. Imagine in a municipal waters, you need to clean the water in order to give it to the residents. We have right now plenty of environmental policies. We need to start protecting our places. I know recycling places right here, they recycle PET bottles, they recycle aluminum, they recycle plastic, paper, and so on. We have food and drink industries. Food, for instance, all the conservative materials, all the, let's say, whatever chemical that you can add to food. For instance, I don't know, in salt, you can add iodine, which increases the nutrition value of the salt. You can also add fluorine to your toothpaste and so on. Drinking, for instance, you can, besides the water that we already took before, you can imagine soda. Soda requires carbonation, which is, of course, a gas which goes into the soda and then has all these little bubbles. Also, a very common field we think on chemical engineering is gas, oil, and nuclear energy. Because nuclear energy is nothing more than a chemical reaction. Oil is nothing more than a very precious liquid that needs to be fractionated and separated, and gas, which is, I don't know, maybe you can think about natural gas and so on. Education, which is the part that I am right now, you can be a tutor, you can be a teacher at the university, and also I know, for instance, in Tec de Monterrey right now, one of the top, let's say, leaders on the university, or the director, I don't know how, yeah, the director is a chemical engineer. And online education, of course, you can be teaching online if you like it, or you can be giving courses, preparation, and so on. I really like to say that not everything is like technical stuff. You can go, I have plenty of friends on consulting, insurance, finance, they are in banking, they are in hedge funds, very interesting parts that you say, why do you study chemistry in order to go there? It's not because of the chemistry per se, it's because the form, the how your brain is working. They work like input data, order the data, and you give an output data. So this form, our brains are wired in order to produce a certain information, which is very useful for banking, finance, and so on. And other trending, I would say biotech, I would say also pharma industry, fine chemicals. Fine chemicals is nothing more than very specific materials. For instance, in a cell phone right here, you have plenty of chemicals, metals, new alloys that need to be produced in order for the processors to increase in capacity and so on. And I'm going to be a little bit faster on this. We can go to process plant, of course, glass, mining, metals, clean energy, construction materials, cement, and so on. So the areas are infinite. Actually, whatever area or company you can think of, you could, in theory, have a engineer right there, okay? Now, the positions is one very important part, because if I tell you I work on a distillation plant, you can be in maintenance, you can be in the manufacturing section, you could be in quality control, you could be the actual production planner, you could be the guy that is designing, or for instance, as I was, you could be the process engineer, which changes temperature, pressure, conditions, and so on. You could be the boss, you could be the manager, director, manager of that plant. You could be in sales. One thing is actually producing the product, and the other thing is getting the market to accept your product, to sell them. You don't, and people ask me all the time, why do you need a chemical engineer as a sales engineer? Because of the same, because when your client asks for a very technical detail, you just have a sales guy, he won't be able to answer. Instead, if you have a chemical engineer working on that, he will tell you, oh, maybe the viscosity, the temperature, the working conditions, and so on. So that's why sales require an engineer as well. And well, I have plenty here. These are just some of them. You can eventually see, depending on the industry, for instance, this will not be valid for the banking area, but in general, you get plenty of different areas once you're in a typical, let's say, engineering field, okay? So the outlook, what do I think on the industry overall? Well, I think Mexico and Brazil are pretty similar in that we are the greatest economies right now in Latin America. We are like literally big on space, we are big on population, and we are especially big on resources. For instance, oil, gas, we have plenty of agriculture, we have plenty of manufacture as well. So that's an advantage, because there we know, or at least in Mexico, we have this perception that there's work, and even though it's not well paid, you can find a work on engineering fields. And well, the good thing is right now that I think that there are plenty of new emerging technologies, and we have an advantage and disadvantage here in Latin America. The main advantage is that we are not going to see them soon, or at least not that rapidly. But the advantage is that you can go and take it, go anywhere in the world. For instance, Europe, you make your studies on whatever field you want, and you bring them right here. So, for instance, solar energies. I know some guys that 10 years ago brought the solar energy right here, panels, and right now they're breaking it. They are super rich right now. They are the main installers of these solar panels, and it was something that you don't see that commonly, that you don't expect Mexicans build their panels, but they brought this emerging technology and so on. You can do that the same, not only on technology, you can do the same for a product, for a process, and whatever. So that's what the main advantage is, I think. The main difference is that in Europe or USA maybe, they got already these technologies. There's plenty of engineering fields, everything is standardized, and that's the main disadvantage I see, that everything is in the same level. Right here you have the famous gap between the rich and poor, so there are not so plenty of people studying engineering, or at least compared to the other fields. And this can be an advantage because it's easier to make businesses right here, in order because you have a lower wage, so you can get new ideas, open different businesses. And the only thing, of course, the disadvantage is that the capital or the money is lower, so maybe it's difficult to open a high investment opportunity, but maintaining a opportunity is cheaper than in other places. Now, my main what I see right now is that all the environmental friendly, bio, organic, fair trade, everything that goes into this industry is growing too much, and you can take advantage on it. So definitely go there. And also the main industries, like typical classical ones, manufacturing, we are still growing very, very large. Oil and gas is still a very important pillar on society, so you can still have a safe bet on that. And overall energy. Now, what I would say a good advantage in Latin American overall is that everyone is thinking on USA, Canada, Europe, and so on, but no one is going or seeing to Asia. And I think really there are plenty of new opportunities that we should take into consideration. So why not try to go a trip to Malaysia, Thailand? Actually, Thailand has plenty of textiles. You can make whatever idea. You can go to Korea, you can go to China exporting, and so on. So that's a spark I would tell you that you should definitely go and check out Asia. Now, worldwide, as a Mexican, as a Brazilian, any Latin American engineer right now, I will definitely tell you that we have good news. If you're studying engineering or you're already engineer, you are required. So it doesn't care if you're from Brazil, from Mexico. If there's a job opening right now, we are in the best ages of all time to go apply. You can use LinkedIn, you can use web portals, and literally just state your CV, your letter of intent, and why not maybe shoot some emails and see if you have good luck and get accepted in, I don't know, maybe Germany, Netherlands, any part in Japan, USA. Because before it was very, very hard, because imagine you need to send letters and you got to be recommended because no one is going to take you for serious. Right now you have the opportunity to have online interviews and so on. So right now we are in the best, let's say, age to get a worldwide work. Now still we can, I would say that energy, oil, new materials, and nano and biotechnology are the trending topics right now. Of course, the other side is, well, all the water, environmental, air pollutions, traffic solutions are coming right now into a very, very important point in, let's say, world problems. So you can have also a very good, let's say, bet on that. What else do we have here? Yes, you do have the level, because many students, or I remember myself being a student, and I will always ask myself if I was good enough to go and apply to other country. And I compare, I don't know, Mexico with Germany. I remember there and I saw them, and eventually I saw that I had the same level, if not best level, that the students that they were right there. So that was a very good for me to realize that this is not that hard. We can actually, the world is already uh, globalized, so a Mexican engineer, a Brazilian engineer have the same opportunities uh, regarding on jobs with, I don't know, Americans maybe, Europeans, Asians. So it depends on the person. Right now you have everything online, so the only excuse is that you are not making your best because you do have the level. And as I stated before, even though you don't want to go out, we are not any longer local. If you want to stay here, fine for you, but don't wait for someone to go from you, maybe South Brazil or North Brazil or maybe even Mexico. Then comes someone and takes you out because you are just thinking local. You got to stop thinking on this local view. You gotta go open yourself, be more globalized, and of course be a global world citizen. And this is good because as an engineer, we have one task, which is improve the world, improve the planet. So if you are in water treatment, you are in ecological fields, you are in energy fields, your job is to make or to improve the planet. Now let's talk about recommendations, which Jefferson asked me to give you. And this will be almost the last part before the conclusion. So I divided this into hard skills and soft skills. I don't know if you already knew these terms. Hard skill is something that's technical, something that you can actually learn like easier. Well, not easier, but it's like most defined. And a soft skill is something that you learn with experience, with time, with interaction. So let's start with the hard skills. Hard skills, for instance, I would definitely recommend every single engineer to practice math every day. You gotta be good at it, and not only because you already graduated and you say, okay, I'm done with math. No. And that's a very important aspect because once you have the domination on math, you think differently. You think more on equations analytically. You are more, I don't know, you interact different with the world. And as an engineer, you need to be objective, you need to be statistical, you need to be numerical, you need to be analytical. So it's very important for you guys, especially if you're students, go and take out, for instance, I got this here, come on, it's a program for easy math. You start adding, subtracting, multiplication, fractions, eventually you finish up with integrations, and the idea is to be working consistently. And if you're already working, well, I would definitely recommend you to still practice your math. It's like exercise. Not because you were doing some good running on high school, you're going to stop right now because you already did sport. No, you gotta be practicing. Also, I already told you to be analytical. You gotta think as an engineer. You gotta approach as an engineer. Whenever you get the problem, you gotta be already bifurcating what's good, what's the advantage, disadvantage, the solutions, problem solutions, connect everything. That's a very important aspect of an engineer. The problem right now I see is that people think that because they pass the course, they are engineers. They are not. You need to be and have this engineering brain. You need to be willing to approach problems not on basic intuition, but rather on engineering approach. Another thing I want to recommend you guys is to actually learn your courses. Learn, for instance, numerical methods. Learn all your math. Learn all the science, physics, biology, chemistry. Learn heat exchange. Learn mass separation. Learn all by heart. You need to be good because what I see is that the students graduating and then they go to this, maybe for instance my example, they come from a good university and we start talking and they don't know what's a heat exchanger or how does they work, and the temperature difference, the natural differences between whatever thing you might imagine, and you see what a waste of time, money, and overall life that they didn't. They just went there because they had to. They paid because they wanted the title, and right now they cannot actually know how it's used, how to design a heat exchanger. So it's so sad that they just lost time, and I think it's much more bad because there's people that actually do their best. They go top scores and they go and They have the ability. So what do you think you will prefer? The guy that actually knows, or the guy that took the courses but doesn't know? Well, of course, they're going to choose the guy that knows. So learn all your courses. This is a very important one, and I think it's one of the most forgotten one. Go to seminars, go to different conferences, go to meetings, go to clubs. It's an investment from you on time, on opportunity, and money, I know, but you are doing this for the greater good. For instance, conferences, they might be, try to network with the people right there, try to understand the problems on the industry. If you are a student, try to imagine yourself working. Why would you need to go there? And so on. Clubs, there are plenty of clubs, math club, chess club, whatever club you're interested in, you gotta go there. And always learn new skills. Even though they are not related to your area of expertise, for instance, accounting for students, or how to manage your time, how to manage projects and so on, or even martial arts and so on, it's very important that you take the time to learn always new things. That's how passions grow, when you interact with new stuff, not the actual stuff that you need to go to school for. Also, learn useful software. I will tell you, typical good for engineers and overall every person is data analysis, Excel or spreadsheet manipulation, project management, and accounting, finance, anything that requires money. Or if you are, for instance, I will tell my experience, I'm a chemical engineer, so I need to be good at Aspen HYSYS and Aspen Plus. And maybe you are thinking, why would I want to learn that program even though I don't want to work on that? Well, when the recruiter sees your CV, he will watch that you actually took dedicated software on your industry. That's very important. That shows that you are actually interested on your field of study. Even though you don't want to work there, that's fine. It implies that you take the time to do extra stuff. You have extra points and you are much more prepared than the other candidate. Finally, this is a very funny one, and is take notes and buy books, and especially save all your books and notes. I really hate, because I remember how I underlined these books on, I don't know, maybe third year of school, university, and then I want to go back and I don't have the book because I sold it. I needed the money back then. Well, now I say, well, if I already bought it, I should have kept it, and then I can go at maybe 5 years later. I know where is the data. I just go open, read the underline, and it saves me about 20 minutes instead of going to the internet and, well, it's kind of boring. You need to be there 20-30 minutes reading and you don't have that exact data. So that's my recommendation. Always take notes, underline the important stuff, and keep your books. Even though they're online, PDF, whatever, try to get them at least on your computer. And my final, most important of all, that has, like, I will recommend this to any person, is do sport. You gotta have a brain. I already told you all this is good for the brain. It's a very good hard skill. But if you don't have a body which is healthy, the brain won't connect. You need oxygen, you need sugars, you need everything here working with all your body. So I will recommend you to work sport, whatever is hobbies. It also works for interaction, teamwork, and so on. That's for a student. And soft skills, I will definitely recommend you. Soft skills are those skills that you cannot go to a course and simply learn it, or at least that's not the idea. The idea is to practice everyday interaction with people, it's more difficult to become good at soft skills. For instance, try hard to be the very best. There's not a course that will tell you, you got to do this to be the best. You already know you need to be studying more, you gotta do all the homeworks, do more of what is required for you. Secondly, I will tell you network. Go with people, try to know all your colleagues, students, and so on. You never know. For instance, right now I've met some opportunities, and I'm very grateful that I know the peoples right there, because I can just shoot them an email and they will tell me gladly, oh, of course, because they have this uh, intuition that because they know me, I'm going to offer better opportunities, rather than just send an email and tell them, well, I don't know if you remember me, but I just took this class and we were in the same group. Well, he will be asking, well, he wants something out of me. But if you actually know the people, you can say, hey, what's up? How you been doing? Blah, 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 small talk, and then eventually go to the main point. And this is with everything, opportunities, new, maybe you are looking for a job, maybe you're looking for buying some material, maybe you want to sell a material, maybe you are organizing a reunion and so on. It's always useful to have people on your network. And this is very, very important. Have confidence on yourself. And this is, once again, you cannot go and buy a book and read on how to get confidence. Confidence is built up by plenty of experiences. Try networking is a very good way to increase your confidence. The more friends, the more people you know and meet, the more confident you will be. Also, I would recommend you to improve your confidence, go to a Toastmaster meeting. It's essentially just public speaking. There you will learn how to speak, how to stand, blah, blah, blah. Everything you need on communication, which is one of the most important parts when you work, is that communication. Send a message from A to B. Then comes teamwork. Well, teamwork is learned actually doing teamwork, but of course always evaluating how can you improve teamwork. It is true when two people get together, they say two heads think more than one head, but not always. If there's no communication, there's actually someone might forget something, and then he trusts him, he forgets, and both of them didn't work on that. So that's very important. You gotta know how to work in teams. Leadership, once again, you cannot buy a book on leadership. You gotta practice leadership in everything. Always be the first, always be the one that provides, always be the one that starts the conversation, always be the first one. Independence, definitely no one wants to take care on someone. For instance, if I were your boss, I want to assign you the job because I trust you in doing that. You go, and of course I'm wanting you to have all the good stuff. You already have everything. I don't need to be out of you telling you, hey, give me this, give me that, go search this. You need to be independent. So I give you the work, you go do the good work, and then you bring it to me, and then you say, wow, I really like this guy. He's very independent. Self-motivation, well, everyone should be self-motivated because everyone should be willing to be more. Don't be waiting for someone to motivate you because that's not likely to happen. So be self-motivated. Do it for your family, do it for your friends, do it for yourself. Be creative, that's very important. Creative in all the ways possible. Even in engineering, I know I told you gotta be analytical and so on, but creativity goes from the most simple exercises. For instance, waking up in the morning, try to imagine how you could automate, how you could improve interactions on teams. That's very creative. How to create new things, new stuff, new processes, and so on. And finally, break the rules. Well, not exactly all the rules, but the important ones, the ones that are the status quo. And in engineering, this happens a lot. For instance, in company, in a process I was working, I were asking, why do we do that? And they tell you, because we've done that 30 years already and it works. And of course you get the idea. If it has been working, don't move it. But maybe you can say, but if we experience, we try to change it, we change the status quo, maybe we can improve energy, we can improve prices, cost, we can improve times, we can improve safety. You can improve whatever thing if you don't let the status quo be the status quo. So always try to break the comfort zone, go further, and so on. So those are my recommendations on hard and soft skills for students, and overall for if you're already working as well. So finally, the conclusion of this little lecture, my top 5 picks is always improve yourself. I'm very glad that you are taking this online seminar. It will help you to know all the new areas you have. I already saw the website. There are plenty of instructors, plenty of expositors. I'm very happy for Jefferson because he's doing this for you. And don't only stay here. Go online, go follow everything. Try to broaden your interest on engineering. And well, as you saw, engineering has plenty of opportunities. The only thing that you need to do is to take them, use them. So if you want to go study abroad, don't let it be just a dream, go out. If you want to work at certain company, don't let it be a dream, go network yourself, send all the sufficient emails and so on. Invest in yourself, take courses, online courses, or personal courses, study always on the university if you're still in university, or always invest in masters, PhD. It's always good to have prepared people in the industry. And remember, always go out of the comfort zone as a student, as a worker, as an instructor, and always try to break this barrier. Breaking out of the comfort zone gives you a much broader activity and helps the world. And don't stay local, always go global. Global is, even though it's a very fancy word, it's reality. Global, you can find out very lot of opportunities, which I already stated. And well, never think small, go big, go global. So here's a little bit on contact information. You can always reach me by email, either by contact@chemicalengineeringguy.com or chemical.engineering.guy@gmail.com. Both emails are connected, so whatever email you send, I will check it out. Commonly, you can check out my YouTube channel, please, if you're interested on engineering, especially chemical or process engineering. I have some information right there. I also have for mechanical engineers, a little bit on fluids and so on. You can also find a little bit information on that as well. Check out my Facebook page for whatever kind of things I post there related to engineering overall. And for you guys, I'm going to try to prepare a site here at chemicalengineeringguy.com, jornada, maybe some coupons or maybe some courses, whatever, or maybe a newsletter, whatever you want, check out here the website. And I wanted to thank you, Jefferson, for inviting me here to this course or this jornada for industrial engineering. And thank you guys, because without you, we wouldn't be making this possible. So thank you very much. I hope you really like this presentation. Otherwise, you can let me know in the emails. No worries. And well, see you in the future. I don't know where we will meet again, but hopefully it's soon. Bye-bye.